Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is flashing multiple signals in the short term that we need to pay attention to while we're just hours away before potentially confirming a reversal signal on this chart, while more Bitcoin liquidations are likely coming very soon, while Ethereum is also still bouncing from this critical area of support. So I'll be talking about all of that and so much more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, we need to talk about the Bitcoin news today, because just yesterday, we actually saw a decent sized net inflow into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So on Friday, we saw a net inflow of around 143 million US dollars. And so, of course, this is some good news finally after the last few days of a lot of bad news for the price of Bitcoin. Of course, just a couple of days ago, we had the German government dumping on the market, and then we had the Mt. Gox repayments, also resulting in more short-term selling pressure. But once again, just on Friday, we saw this decent sized net inflow, which, by the way, if you're new to all of this, this net inflow is basically buying pressure. This is money coming into the Bitcoin ETFs, and the Bitcoin ETF providers like Fidelity, for example, are having to use this money in order to buy Bitcoin in order to back the ETFs. And so while we're seeing these net inflows coming into the Bitcoin ETFs, this is helping to offset a lot of that other selling pressure that is happening from those other events that have been happening once again over the last couple of days. And so this was potentially one of the reasons as to why we actually saw not much bearish price action over the last one day. We kind of stopped, at least in the short term, with that short-term dump to the downside, or that crash, if you want to call it that we saw just over the last couple of days. Over the last one day, that kind of stopped. And as of right now, the price of Bitcoin is trading just above the point of invalidation for this super trend indicator right here, for the bullish trend that is, because as of right now, the point of invalidation for the super trend indicator is sitting at roughly around $56,000. And this is based on the 4-day Bitcoin charts, because if we're looking at a slightly smaller time frame, even just the 3-day time frame, this super trend indicator actually flashed a bearish signal right around here before flipping bullish later on. And so basically, this is the smallest time frame that we can really look at for the super trend indicator, while still remaining accurate in terms of the larger trends at play, or the bull or bear markets, for example. And if we're looking at larger time frames like the weekly chart or the monthly chart using this indicator right here, then that reversal signal will take a lot more to confirm. It will take a lot longer. And so as of right now, the 4-day time frame is basically the sweet spot in terms of the time frames for the super trend indicator, that is. And once again, the invalidation point is sitting at roughly around 56,000, which means in order to confirm a bearish trend reversal based on this indicator on this time frame, we need to see at least a 4-day candle close well below $56,000. And obviously, just over the last couple of days, we saw the price of Bitcoin drop below 56,000. But as of right now, at the time of recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is trading slightly above 56,000. And as of right now, the next 4-day candle close confirms in around half a day from now. And so basically, the price of Bitcoin just needs to stay above 56,000 just for the next half a day in order to avoid the invalidation signal confirming for this larger bullish trend, or the bull market, at least based on this indicator on this time frame. Because the last time we saw an actual reversal signal flash in this indicator on this Bitcoin chart on this time frame was at the beginning of the 2022 bear market, and the time before that was right at a major crash before more of a short-term bearish trend, well, more of a mid-term bearish trend, I should say, that lasted for the next few months before we eventually saw more of a bullish reversal later on. And so essentially, these short-term bearish trends or pullbacks in the price of Bitcoin during the larger bullish trends, they often take a few weeks, usually a matter of weeks, to eventually recover. But if we break the larger bearish trend here by confirming a break below 56,000, which has not happened as of right now, but if that happens, that could take months or even longer to eventually recover. But it's also worth pointing out that we still need to wait for that confirmation signal actually confirming the break below 56,000 with at least a 4-day candle close below 56K, because we actually saw very similar price action to what we're seeing right now all the way back here in around August 2023, where we saw a short-term dump, just a flash crash in the price of Bitcoin below the point of invalidation for this indicator right here. And we also saw a similar thing back in March 2023 with the price of Bitcoin just forming a candle wick to the downside below the point of invalidation, so quickly dropping below that level and then reversing back to the upside and confirming the candle close back above the point of invalidation, so remaining within the larger bullish trend. And so once again, we have just half a day to go. It's just a matter of hours to go before this 4-day candle close confirms and we start the new 4-day candle. And so it is very important for the price to simply just remain above 56K just for the next half a day. And with that being said, taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin chart, and as of right now, the 3-day Bitcoin RSI is still trading well below 50, well into the lower half of the indicator, which historically speaking, over the last couple of years, basically any time where the 3-day Bitcoin RSI has dropped into the lower half of the indicator, usually those are some pretty decent buying opportunities, especially if you're just accumulating for the longer term, not financial advice. I'm just pointing out what has happened in the past and what is likely to occur moving forward. And so as I've already explained recently here on the channel, personally, I am actually dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin right now. I'm accumulating Bitcoin, but I'm not going all in at once and I'm not using any high leverage or anything like that. So by doing that, even if we see a continued short-term dump, I won't get liquidated because once again, I'm not on any high leverage. And also if we see a short-term dump, because I'm not going all in at once, I still have funds to continue dollar cost averaging, lowering my average entry price if we see a continued dump. But of course, if we see a bounce, I would also benefit from that bounce. And so once again, that is just my strategy at the moment. That is what I'm personally doing. But as always, I cannot give any personal financial advice because I don't know your personal financial situation. And with that being said, taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, and as I said in my last video, the DXY is actually pulling back quite substantially, which is very interesting to see because usually when we see major pullbacks or short-term bearish trends in the DXY, usually that is very bullish for the price of Bitcoin in terms of the trend and momentum. And so once again, just over the last couple of days, we had other bearish catalysts, other major sellers in the market that were dumping the price of Bitcoin. But once we see those other bearish catalysts basically go away, so when those major sellers basically run out of Bitcoin, for example, then we could likely see this bullish signal in the DXY actually start properly playing out here in the price of Bitcoin. So just keep this in mind. This is still actually flashing a bullish signal, which is interesting to pay attention to. And with that being said, taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, and what we are seeing right now is a new bullish divergence that I did actually mention in my last video here on the channel, because we have lower lows clearly in the price of Bitcoin in the candle closes. And as of right now, we have higher lows forming in the daily Bitcoin RSI. But at least for now, this new higher low has not actually been confirmed in place in the RSI, but it's getting very close to potentially confirming. Because in order to actually confirm the higher low in place, we need to see some sort of decent bounce here in the RSI just to cement the higher low in place, which the RSI by default goes off candle closes. So that means we need to see at least 1 to 2 green candles actually confirm here in the price action. And so possibly over the weekend, we could confirm this bullish divergence, which will be something important to pay attention to, because if we confirm this new bullish divergence, usually a bullish divergence plays out in the form of either some choppy sideways price action or a slight bullish relief as the most likely outcomes. And so it is important to understand that a bullish divergence by itself is not necessarily enough to fully confirm a new bullish trend, but it is enough to expect at least some sort of relief or pause or just a break from the bearish trend, not necessarily a reversal. And so in order to expect a further bullish reversal, we need to see other reversal signals, like, for example, confirmed breakouts above significant resistance. And the resistance that we need to pay attention to is starting at around $60,000 to 61K. We have another area of resistance in between 63 to 64K, in between 67 to 68K, and in between 72 to 74K. But personally, I would start flipping a lot more bullish if we just start breaking out above these areas of resistance right here. So back above around 61K and ideally back above 64K to flip a lot more bullish in the short term in terms of the trend and momentum. And so until we actually see those signals confirm, we cannot really flip overly bullish again in terms of the trend and momentum, which means as of right now, we can still remain within this short-term bearish trend, but at least just for the coming days, maybe over the next week, if this bullish divergence confirms, we could see a bit of a short-term pause or a relief from the bearish trend before potentially continuing that trend later on. That is a likely scenario that we need to consider. And as for support that we need to pay attention to, right now we're still actually holding above this critical area of support in between around 56,500 to 57,500 based on previous price action. But if we end up seeing a confirmed break below 56,500, then expect a move down towards this massive area of support in between 51k to 53k. And also, just over the last one day, we did actually see that daily candle close, the previous daily candle close, confirm back above 56,500, which is something important to pay attention to. It's something to take note of, because obviously, if we actually confirm the break below 56,500 with daily candle closes, that would have been more of a short-term bearish signal. But at least for now, we're still hanging on to this area of support, which at least in the imminent short term is some good news, even though we may still be within this short-term bearish trend. And just before I talk about what I'm expecting right now for the price of Bitcoin moving forward, personally, if I'm trading any of these moves, I actually trade over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video, in the description down below, and in the pinned comment. And if you actually use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is currently a massive lucky draw happening right now, only for a limited time, by the way, where you could win up to $100,000. And so just by trading crypto using that link, you get these lucky draw chances right here into this lucky draw where you could win some free Bitcoin or Ethereum or USDT or trip to an F1 race, or once again up to $100,000 just by trading crypto using the link down below this video. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And personally, what I'm expecting right now for the price of Bitcoin over the next few days is honestly just a bit of a break from the short-term bearish trend, especially now that we're heading into a weekend. Because as we can see here, over the weekends shown by these areas on the chart right here, generally speaking, on most weekends, we usually see very flat price action, relatively neutral price action. So basically low volatility just over the weekends as the most likely scenario. And oftentimes, the largest, most volatile moves in the price of Bitcoin occur during the week, on the weekdays. And so personally, what I'm expecting over the next few days and over the next 1 week or so for the price of Bitcoin is just for the next couple of days over the weekend, relatively boring price action, so low volatility just for the weekend, but then potentially a bit more of a bullish relief as we enter into the new week, because if we see flat price action over the weekend, that could also help to confirm this bullish divergence on the daily time frame. So once again, I'll not be surprised if we see a small sideways consolidation for the next couple of days, followed by a little bit more of a bounce within the next half a week to maybe 1 week or so. But ultimately, in order to expect a lot more bullish price action, so a bullish trend reversal, once again, we need to break out above key resistance, which we failed to do right here. We saw that short-term bullish relief, which was expected back then, but we failed to break out above key resistance, so we remained within the short-term bearish trend with another leg to the downside later on. And so basically, we're in a similar situation right now to what we saw right back here, where we saw that dump to the downside, but we're likely going to see a bit of a break or relief from the bearish trend over the next few days, maybe for around a week or so. But ultimately, the trend is still bearish unless we prove otherwise. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, as of right now, we have a lot of liquidity building just above the price of Bitcoin. First of all, we have a lot of liquidity at around 57,000 to 57.2K. And we have much more liquidity starting at around 58.9K, going up towards around 59K, give or take. So right around there, we have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of liquidations. And so possibly sometime in the next few days, possibly after the weekend is finished, because once again, over the weekend, we should see relatively flat price action, but potentially in the next few days, we could end up seeing a move back up towards around 58 to 59,000 to take out a lot of this liquidity that is building right now here in the short term. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the price of Ethereum, and as of right now here on the daily time frame, we're still holding above this critical area of support with yet another bounce after seeing multiple bounces back here. And this area of support is sitting in between around 2.8K to 2.9K. So at least for now, that is the critical area of support to pay attention to, which we're still bouncing from. And considering the fact that we're bouncing from key support at the same time as the RSI on the daily time frame, just entering into oversold territories for the first time in almost 300 days, Personally, due to those signals on the daily time frame right now, I am expecting a bit of a break or relief from that short-term bearish trend, but not necessarily the end of the trend. Because once again, these short-term bearish trends can contain some slight bullish reliefs or choppy sideways price action during the bearish trend. And so at least for the next half a week, maybe to around 1 week or so, that is what I'm now expecting here in the short term. Most likely just some choppy sideways price action, possibly a slight bullish relief, because we simply need to reset that RSI back out of oversold territories, which is what we saw the last few times where we saw an oversold signal on the daily time frame. But once again, this signal by itself does not necessarily mean the end of the short-term bearish trend. And so in order to expect more of a short-term bullish reversal in terms of the trend and momentum, we need to break out above key resistance. For example, based on these Fibonacci levels, based on the Fibonacci retracement tool from swing high to swing low on the logarithmic settings, we have the first Fibonacci level, the 23.6% level, sitting at around 30.50, so just above $3,000. We have the next Fibonacci level of resistance at around 3.2K at around 33.40, and the golden pocket in between around 34.80 to 3.5K, or more specifically around 35.20. And personally, I would start flipping a lot more bullish again if we can start breaking out back above these previous lows. So right around this Fibonacci level at around 3.2K. But ideally, we need to see a breakout back above 3,500 in order to finally flip much more bullish again in terms of the trend and momentum in the short term, and expect a move back up towards these local highs, closer towards $4,000. If we first see a breakout back above 3,500, which obviously as of right now is still a long way away from happening. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 12-hour time frame, we're continuing to see that perfect bounce from this exact area of support that I've been talking about over and over again here on the channel, sitting in between 120 to 128. So that is still the critical area of support to pay attention to. And as for resistance, we are right now running into this area of resistance based on previous support and resistance, which is sitting in between around 140 to 144. And obviously, if we break out back above 144, at least in the imminent short term, that would be a bullish signal. But ultimately, we do have more resistance to the upside. For example, at around 153 to 154, at around 160, and in between around 170 to 175. And personally, I'll start flipping a lot more bullish again if we can break out at least back above 154, but ideally breaking out back above 160 with confirmation. So candle closes back above 160 to flip a lot more bullish again in terms of the short-term trend and momentum. But if we first of all break out back above 154 with confirmation on this bounce right here, that could potentially confirm a double bottom pattern or a W pattern, which is actually a bullish reversal pattern if we can confirm a breakout back above 154 and ideally back above 160. So once again, those are the points where we can start talking about more of a bullish trend reversal in terms of the trend and momentum. But until then, for all we know, we could just be seeing a bit of a bounce, a slight bullish relief during this bearish trend, which is kind of similar to what we've seen in the past. And so those are the major areas of support and resistance that we need to pay attention to, and a possible pattern that is forming right now to pay attention to. And if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.